right. Thank you everyone for coming. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the headaches I experienced when I wasn't under chiropractic care. So when I first started working here, I did not even know what chiropractic was, but I got migraines at least once a month. They were debilitating. I had to stay home from work. They were awful. And ever since I started going under care, under Heather Rice, I have only had one migraine in the last 6 months. So it does wonders for your migraines.
It's amazing.
So I just want to let you guys know our next workshop is going to be a sleep workshop. It is on October 2nd at 6:30. 22nd, sorry, 22nd. So it's going to be another Monday at 6:30. And without further ado, it's Dr. Heather Rice.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, I appreciate you all being here tonight. And I promise you I'm not going to waste your time. If you are struggling with headaches or you know someone that has, chances are you've done a lot of research already on trying to figure it out. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on things you already know, things you can go and research. I want to cover what are the unique and specific things that I do with folks just like Savannah to help them when they've struggled with headaches. So when we think of headaches, there's a whole broad range, and we know that it affects everybody. I'm going to move on here. Let's start here. Right? It affects pretty much every age group, every gender, every class, every lifestyle. It affects our entire population. And it is debilitating, anywhere from annoying to debilitating, I would say. So people can learn to tolerate them, and they often do. In fact, it's not unusual when people will come into the office, and when they're describing their headaches, they'll say, oh, just the normal ones. The normal ones. Sometimes I'm blown away by how the standards that people have set for themselves and how low they've gone of what we're just trying to tolerate. So tonight, we're going to uncover this, right? If you really want to know what the solution is to this problem, you have to understand it. So we're going to unpack this so that you have a better understanding of how you can actually find what the cause is and therefore what the solutions are. And I want to appreciate you being here tonight, and any of you that are watching the recording of it, I want to appreciate the time you're taking, because it tells me that you are an action taker. And that if you want results, you have to take action. But you have to take the right action. You have to understand what that right action is. Otherwise, you spin your wheels and you get frustrated. And you might get worse and worse trying everything. So we're going to unpack all of that tonight. And so let's go. Let's do this. So the most common headaches that I see here in the office over the last 34 years have been what we would call stress headaches, sinus headaches, and migraine headaches. But there's one other category I want to throw in there that we're more aware of now, and actually that I'm seeing more of than I've ever seen before, and that's headaches related to concussion, head injuries, or even when there's no concussion diagnosed, but there's a jolt or a jarring that occurs. And in fact, many of the folks that are struggling with these, what we would name them as these types of headaches, when we go into their history, what do we find? They've had a jolt or a jarring or a concussion of some sort in the past. So it can really come back to haunt you. And so I want to cover tonight, when I think of the broad range of folks that I've worked with, I have teenagers that have concussed their head and can't look at screens, right? And do you know what happens at school now? If you can't look at screens, your schoolwork tanks, right? And so having to work with those folks and work with them just the right way so that they recover fast. But they recover fast to the level they were at before the concussion. That's what's really important. I have other folks that have struggled for years since they were children with migraines and with headaches, and nobody knowing what to do. And they're just like Savannah, they're just debilitated. And sometimes it's more than once a month. Sometimes kids are not doing well in school because they're missing school because of the levels of headaches they're having. And then I have folks that are at the other end of the spectrum. I have CEOs and executives that are doing everything they can to manage it, and not wanting to let it interfere with their work. But they're, something called presenteeism, where they're not missing work, but they're not productive. They're not actually there being effective, and it really bothers them. And then I have a mother of 3 struggling with headaches. Okay, so you got your all the demands of your family, and all you want to do is go into a dark room and turn off the lights. And you can't leave your baby and your toddler and your first grader, right? What do they do? I mean, this is affecting people's lives in such a big way. So what are we going to do about it? That's what I want to give you some solutions tonight and look at these more closely. So first off, we have to understand what the cause is, and stress is often a big cause. I love this because it actually speaks loudly about the causes for some people where their headaches are coming from, right? It's coming from my husband, who's got a back pain, and it's bothering him, coming up his neck, out of his mouth, into my ears, and that's the cause of my headaches, right? So we're going to lighten it up now and then, because otherwise it can get really, really hauntingly bad when you consider how it's affecting people's lives. So first we want to look at what the beliefs are around headaches, because it's the beliefs that will motivate what our actions are. And if we can get a better perspective and understanding, then our beliefs change, then our actions will change. And so I want to put you on the right track there. So the first dangerous belief is that headaches are the problem. That headache is the problem. If I could just get the headache out of the way, then everything would be fine. And so the headache is a symptom. And so all of the workshops that we're doing this year, month after month, and next week it's going to be about sleep. If you're not sleeping well, that's a symptom. Last month it was about neck pain. That's a symptom. So all of them are symptoms, or what we call body signals. And so this body signals program, it's condition specific, but it's to help you understand what language is your body speaking to you, and how you respond to those messages makes all the difference. So if your response is to listen and to make changes, because that's what the body is communicating to you. It needs help right now. You're moving away from health and towards illness and sickness and trouble. And if you pay attention and you make changes and then you get your function back, that's the direction that we want to go in. But unfortunately, in our culture, the most common approach to when we get a body signal is, maybe it'll go away. I'm just going to ignore this for a little while, right? And then after a while, when ignoring it doesn't work, then the next thing people are doing is they're going to the medicine cabinet and they're starting to take medications that are not solving the problem. They're masking the symptoms. And that means that the underlying problem may actually be getting worse, but you're not feeling it. So whether you are just trying to chip away at the top while the bottom is there and getting worse and worse, or whether you're really getting to the bottom of it and getting to the cause, that's really what this is all about. So whether you're listening or not is the key. So let's talk a little bit more deeply about symptoms and where do they fall, because it's not something we want to ignore and it's not something we want to minimize. They have value. Symptoms have value. So what value do they bring to us? This is a continuum that I love to look at, because it really helps us to understand the place of symptoms and the role of symptoms. So at this end of this continuum, we have a premature death, and at this end, we have high-level wellness. So we have this end where there's sickness, this end where there's no sickness, and this end where there's health. Okay, there's 3 zones here. And the neutral point, this is where there's nothing labelable. That's a good word. Nothing we can label to say it's a symptom. So we're okay, but this would be very different from the robust level of health. What this would taste like, this doesn't taste the same. And I would guess that most people in our culture are actually living here and don't even know what this really is like. And if you're living here, look how close it is to starting to move into symptoms and that sort of thing. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this continuum is that right here on the other side of nothing going on is where there's signs of something happening. And then after that is symptoms of something happening, right? So Who knows the difference between a sign or a symptom? What's a sign? What would you call a sign? In your own words.
I just think it like gives you some sort of. I'm thinking a hint, like it's sort of like it's like a whisper, like something that you hear or you know is there, but you ignore it.
It could be that. Like if you had a fever, that would be a sign, but it's also something you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So the symptom is when you're actually feeling it. So a symptom is something you feel. My head hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts exactly right here. I can feel it. And it started, right? That's the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
The sign is actually something that is measurable, but it may not be something you feel. It may not be something you feel. Okay, so blood pressure.
Uh-huh.
Not necessarily something you feel, but a sign that we can measure. Okay, so the signs actually will come before the symptoms. Okay, if you go to the dentist and you open your mouth and they say, oh, looks like you've got a cavity right here. There's a sign of a cavity right there. And you're saying, I don't feel anything, right? And then the dentist could say, oh, okay, don't worry about it. When you feel something, then come on back and we'll do something about it, right? That doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, so the cavity is a sign. By the time you feel it, there's a symptom. So the pain is the symptom, but that's not the problem. The pain is the symptom, but it's not the problem. Do you see? So the cavity is the problem in that situation, right? But maybe before that, it's your lifestyle and whether you're brushing your teeth or what you're eating that's the problem. Do you see what led you to that? So signs and symptoms, and if you still don't address the symptoms and you mask them, but your function continues to fall down, you get to a point where you've reached disability, where it's not fixable. That's what disability means. Okay? So the symptoms are going to tell you what direction you're headed. That is the value of symptoms. They tell you what direction you're headed. There's a momentum and a speed in that direction that you're heading. So just get this. Everybody here is somewhere on this continuum. I'm on this continuum. All of you are on this continuum somewhere. Nobody's standing still. Everybody's going to be moving in one direction or the other. The direction you're headed is going to be the result of the lifestyle choices that you make. What kinds of actions are you taking will determine which direction you're headed. And there's going to be a speed that you're headed in that direction. So, an athlete that's focusing on their fitness and their health and is living at this robust level, and then they get an injury where they hurt themselves, they're moving in this direction, maybe quickly, but then they get healthy again and they move quickly in the other direction because they do what they need to do to take care of it, right? Somebody else that's not making good lifestyle choices, just bumbling along, just kind of living the way our culture pushes people to live, and without even noticing it, they're moving in this direction, getting normal headaches. Everyone I talk to has headaches too, right? Just the normal ones, right? That I can tolerate until I can't tolerate them. I think I'll take some aspirin. That's what the commercials tell me to do. Do you see what's happening? And then they're moving in this direction, and then they want to finally get rid of the headaches. The first job I have is to slow the momentum down in the direction that people are headed, right? So no matter where anybody is on this continuum, my job is just to help you move in that direction. No matter where you are, no matter what the momentum is, how long you've been there, my job is just to help you get moving in that direction, right? So the symptoms, they have a value to us, and they tell us what direction you're headed. Symptoms are tricky because people tend to make their decisions based on how they feel. But let's get real about this. Let's understand this. Feeling something versus function, it's two different things. You have three parts to your nervous system. One part of your nervous system, the sensory nervous system, is what you feel when you feel things. When you feel pressure or temperature, when you feel pain or pleasure. When you feel things, that's through the sensory nervous system. You have two other parts of the nervous system that are running all the function. The part that runs the muscles is the motor nervous system. The part that runs the organs, blood vessels, and glands is the autonomic nervous system. So you tell me, if you stub your toe, you injure something, you need to have a blood supply and an immune system to help heal that up, right? So you're going to feel the pain from the sensory nervous system that's going to tell you to protect that area. But then you're going to need the other parts of the nervous system to engage so you can get back to full function. Okay? So all three parts of the nervous system are at work, running the function, but the part that you feel, sensory, is only one part of it. And the part of the sensory nervous system that feels pain is only 10% of the entire nervous system. So when you're feeling headache pain, it occupies your entire awareness. You can't think of anything else. You think it's your whole world. But that's only 10% of the nervous system's job, is to feel that. So some people think that on the days that they feel the headache, I'm sick. I've got a sick headache. We've heard that term before, right? I'm sick today. And then a few days later, you're feeling better. And you think, I'm not sick today. Because you're basing it just on what you feel. But the cause of those headaches may not have gone away. It may still be running through a pattern, but it just hasn't bumped up into symptom realm. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So we need a better definition of health than symptoms. If we are only thinking about how we feel to determine how healthy we are, tell me this: what does heart disease feel like? Right? What does a cavity feel like? What does cancer feel like? It's not a good way to determine or define your health, to use how you feel, right? So we need a better definition. And that comes from a different premise about health, right? And so here's my premise I want to share with you, because I think it's going to help you to think differently. And if you're thinking differently, you're going to find the solutions. So first premise is healthy is normal. You were designed to be healthy. You were designed to be healthy. Every cell in your body has an intelligence that keeps you healthy and healing. That intelligence is in every single cell. We all started from 2 cells you can't even see to make an entire human being in 290 days, right? Think about, what have you gotten done in the last 290 days, right? Your body is brilliant. It's designed to be healthy. So if it's not expressing health, it's because something's interfering with that. And if something's interfering with it, we know there's 2 things that can interfere with health: toxicities and deficiencies, or both. Those are the things that interfere with health: toxicities or deficiencies, or both. And those come from life, right? So life's playing out, and there are toxicities that are accumulating and deficiencies that are accumulating. So if I meet somebody and they come to me with their health concerns, we just have to figure out where the toxicities and deficiencies come from. What are the lifestyle choices that they've been making? And then how do we reconcile that? And once we reconcile that, they get right back into healthy is normal and expressing health, right? Make sense? Okay, so your body is smart. And the symptoms are a smart way for your body to let you know you're exceeding the safety level now, change needs to happen. That's a smart body. The nervous system is the master system that controls everything in our body, everything, every single function. And our spine then is our suit of armor. Our spine is our lifeline, right? So I have the spine somewhere, there it is. So the most important, who knows what the most important organ in the body is? Yeah, so brain's the most important organ. They're not doing brain transplants yet, are they? Oh, although I can think of some candidates, right? Okay, but they're not, right? So the brain, right, that's the master control. And we know, another reason why we know it's the most important organ is it's the only one that's fully encased in bone, right? And it's sending the messages down the spinal cord, out through the nerve roots, to carry the messages out and back. And as long as the messages get from the brain to the cells and back again without interference, you get to be healthy, right? So the spine is the protection of that central nervous system. So you're exactly right, nervous system. The spine is the protection for that. Okay, so the spine is the lifeline. And then the things that cause interference, remember we just said that the only reason why you're not healthy is something's interfering with that. Well, what is it that causes the interference? It's stress. It's stress. And guess what? We live in a world that is unnaturally stressful, right? Anybody disagree with that? Are we all on the same page here? I don't have to go into any more detail with that, right? I mean, if we think about the world we live in today and how different it is even from 100 years ago, never mind 40,000 years ago when our genes were set and that's what our genes were made to live in 40,000 years ago. And here we are, 2018, holy smokes. We couldn't have done a better job at engineering an unnaturally stressful, unhealthy culture, right? Yeah, so that's what we have to work with here. All right, so that's where the stresses are. So what is the answer to this whole question about headaches then? What is the answer here? Is it drugs? Is it ignoring it? Because those are the two most common answers that people are getting. Is that the answer, or is there a better way? Let's take a look. So drugs, we have to look at the premises again. That's what our theme is tonight. Look at the premises behind it so that we can have a different understanding and then make better choices. So the first dangerous belief I want to cover is this idea that drugs work. Drugs work. I've got a headache. I take the drug, the headache goes away. The drugs work. But what are they working at? Are they correcting the cause, or are they masking the symptom? So they do work very well in many cases of masking the symptoms, don't they? So then you can keep doing your life the same way you've been doing. You don't have to make any changes, and you keep heading in the same direction that you've been heading, and you could be getting worse even as you're feeling okay. So that's one of the biggest ideas I want you to get, is that the symptoms are there to serve you, and we don't want symptoms to go away until you're so healthy that there's the body doesn't need them anymore. The body needs you to have the pain as a symptom to tell you change needs to happen here, right? If you stub your toe and you didn't feel pain, you might just keep stubbing that toe and damaging it more and more and more. Do you see? So the drugs would mask the symptom, and then you could be in more trouble, right? All right, so if that's what the big idea is, what about if we ignore it? What if we just, maybe it'll go away, right? The 5 most dangerous words in healthcare are, maybe it will go away. Let's just ignore this for a little while. Okay, let me just ask you, the last time you ignored a problem, did it get worse or did it get worse? Right?
It didn't get better.
It didn't get better. And it gets more complicated, it gets harder to fix, it gets more expensive, and maybe it gets to the point where you can't fix it, right? So ignoring it, that's not going to be the best solution either, is it? Okay. And so let's talk about where really are headaches coming from. It's stress. It's coming from stress. But again, I want to unpack this because a lot of people are thinking of stress in an obvious way, that it's just about the stressful thoughts that I'm having, that pressure, the deadlines and the demands on me, and I got too much going on and I can't manage this stress, mental, emotional stress. But there's 3 dimensions to stress, because there's also toxins in our environment that are a chemical stress, and there's traumas, physical stresses. And we can think of the physical stresses in different ways. It's not necessarily the jolts and the traumas like car accidents, sports injuries. It could also be the physical stress of our lifestyle. Sedentary lifestyle is a stress for us as well. So there's 3 dimensions to stress. We call these the 3 T's, and it's physical stresses, mental, emotional stresses, and chemical stresses, or thoughts, toxins, and traumas. So these stresses, they accumulate and they cause subluxations. So subluxations, everybody say subluxation?
Subluxation.
Right? You can say all these weird diseases and incredible drug names. I want you to learn how to say subluxation, right? Subluxations are when you get the interference in the nervous system. So you've got your spine, the lifeline, the messages are coming through, and then you get a jolt or a jarring or poor posture, and you get these twists and torques in the spinal column that's protecting the nervous system. And when that happens, it can start to put pressure on the nerves. And remember, we said that the nerves are what are controlling every function in the body, right? So the messages coming through the nerves, that's what keeps you healthy and healing. The subluxation is going to start to interfere with the flow of those messages. So what actually happens when you have a subluxation? You get a joint that goes out of alignment. When it goes out of alignment, it's damaging the tissue. Just like if you sprain your ankle, you've got damaged tissue there. When the tissue's damaged, you're going to get inflammation in that joint, and that inflammation is going to start to irritate the nerve as well. That nerve irritation, then your brain's going to be picking that up and detecting that, and it's going to say, whoa, the more that joint is moved, the more that nerve is getting irritated. We got to do something different here. We got to protect that. So the muscles that move joints, our muscles are moving our body, and they move our spine. Those muscles that move take on the secondary function when they have to protect, and they strap down that joint. So you have muscle spasm that is strapping down the joint to stop it from irritating the nerves. What a smart body, right? To strap down that joint to protect you. So if it straps it down, now you've got a muscle spasm. Oh, I can't turn my head as well. It's all spasmed. I think I'll just take some muscle relaxants. And then, I can move better, but it's still kind of painful. I think I'll take some painkillers. And now I'm feeling great as I am just tearing up the tissue. Do you see? Is that smart or stupid? Right? So the body's smart, giving us the signal. It's smart, spasming and strapping down that muscle, strapping down that joint to protect us. Now, when we have the muscle spasm and we strap down the joint, the discs that are between the bones, that are the spacer to keep that hole the right size, those discs, they only get nutrition if you squeeze and unsqueeze, like a sponge. When you squeeze a sponge in water and then you release it, it sucks the water up. And so in order to get nutrition to the disc, it has to be squeezed and released. So movement has to happen. The way we get toxins out of that disc is to squeeze it down. And that's called imbibition to the disc. Imbibition is the way we get nutrients in and toxins out of the disc. It doesn't have a good blood supply to do that, so that's how we do it. But if we strap down that joint so there's no more movement there, we lose that imbibition. And if we lose that, now that disc will start to deteriorate, and there'll be more inflammation, and there'll be degenerative change. The other thing that happens is with that strapping down of the muscle, there's joint fixation, meaning there's no longer movement in that joint. And when the brain is checking out the whole body through the sensory nervous system, constantly carrying messages up to the brain, when the brain picks up a message that there's no movement in that joint, it's an alert that there's a problem. And when the brain is alerted to a problem, it goes into stress mode. And actually, it will trigger the brain to go into a global stress mode in the whole body. So rusty hinges, rusty joints that are not moving well are sending stress signaling to the brain. And so that will elevate the stress hormones in the body. Okay? When the stress hormones are elevated in the body, it's harder for us to heal because it ramps up inflammation as well. Okay? So that is the link that happens there. That's why subluxations are so bad. But the most common symptom associated with a subluxation is no symptom at all. It's like a cavity. So you can have them and you don't even know that this is happening, and it could be compromising the nerve supply that's going out to your body. The things that cause the subluxations, we said, were stresses, and it's also bad habits. So yes, it's the big traumas, macro traumas, falling down the stairs. We talked about concussions, right? But it's also life where we have these bad habits. And I want to talk about one of the worst bad habits that mankind has ever encountered, that is hitting our population right now like never before, that could be one of the most serious health problems that we have. It's going to blow your mind when you hear what it is. It's the microtraumas. It's the microtraumas. Okay, raise your hand if you have a cell phone. Okay, raise your hand if everybody in your family has a cell phone. So get 2 hands up, maybe, right? Raise your hand if you think that they're using the cell phones way too much. Right? Exactly, right? We're using them way too much. And if you have this sense that it's probably not good for us, anybody get that sense it's probably not good for us? Yeah. I want to show you how bad it is. It's really bad. But we have normalized it. We've normalized it. But having been in practice for over 30 years and watching the spines of folks and watching the ages that I see compromised in the spine, it's hitting folks younger and younger and younger. Yeah. So microtraumas are such a problem. And it's such a problem that in the healthcare community, we actually have a name for it now. It's called tech neck. There's a name. Like in medical literature, tech neck is a name now. It was text neck for a little while, but now we know it's tech neck. It's all the devices that we use. It's the, it's the laptops that we're using and the monitors that we're sniffing all day long. And the iPads and the iPods and the iPhones and the smartphones. And it's holding those tiny little phones on our shoulder. It used to be bad enough just holding the regular phone cradled on your shoulder. Now you have these tiny little ones, right? It's a problem, this tech neck. It's a problem. There's even something called digital dementia that's happening. Digital dementia, where the use of the devices and the posture we get into. Tell me this, does anybody know anybody with Parkinson's? Anybody know anybody with Parkinson's? We all know what Parkinson's looks like now, don't we? It's the hunched shuffle, right? You watch kids playing with the Pokemon game, right? They got this hunched shuffle that's happening. And it's compromising their nervous system and their brainstem and their brains. It's compromising our nervous systems to be using these devices all the time. I can't emphasize it enough. It sounds like it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's not a joke at all, the way that our posture is affected by the use of our modern technology. So tech neck, if we look and see what is it actually doing to our physiology, I want to show you what it's doing. Because remember, I just showed you the spine. So the spinal cord, this is an x-ray. We don't see the soft tissue, we just see the bones here. The brain's here up in the cranium. It's sending a message down the spinal cord, which runs right down through this tube right here. And then the nerves are coming out from between the bones right through here. Okay? So this is how bad it is. When we are holding our head right over our center of gravity, that's where the head is supposed to be held with very little effort, right? Did you ever take a baseball bat and kind of balance it upright on your hand? Anybody ever do that when they were a kid? And if you get it just right, it kind of hovers there, right? But if it goes off a little bit, you're going to have to work hard or it's going to fall over, right? I want you to understand the laws of physics, that when the head goes forward of the shoulder, it goes outside of that center of gravity, it will double the work that the body has to do, and it puts more and more stress and strain on the brainstem. So I would like to have a volunteer. Would you be willing to be a volunteer? Okay. So you're going to come stand up here. It's just going to do a mini workout. All right, so I want you to just, you can see how you want it is. You can use just one if you want, all right? But this is what you're going to be doing. I'm going to have you holding this straight up over your head, all right? So she's got 5 pounds there. I've got 10 pounds. The average head is going to weigh between 10 and 15 pounds or so. So if we put these together, that's more accurate, right? So if it's right up over her head, she's doing a pretty good job holding it there. If I have her now start to hold that out in front,
I already feel it in my lower back.
she can feel it all the way down her spine, right? And look at that's just a few degrees
Yeah.
forward, right? Thank you so much,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a real thing that when the head goes forward, the amount of work we have to do, it doubles the amount of work your body has to do. So if you have let's say you have a 15-pound head, just 1 inch forward, your body's now working to manage 30 pounds of work. Do you see that?
Okay, if you have to drive for, like an hour and then another hour or whatever, is there a way to make it so your seat is so that your head is like where it's supposed to be?
Oh, it's such a great question, right? So, yeah, before TechNet was around,
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeve was going on an airplane or going into cars where they push the headrest
Yeah.
forward. That's your
Yeah.
question. What if I'm on a
Right.
plane or I'm in a car
Yeah.
and I have to drive a long time and my head's getting pushed forward? It must have been designed by subluxated people, right? Right? That, I mean,
Totally.
because the idea of the headrest is that if you're in an accident, it should only be an inch away from your head. And so over time, as people's posture has gotten worse and worse, the headrests are coming more and more forward, and it's reinforcing this subluxated posture. It is a problem.
Mm.
So the solution to that is you have to, if you can't change the headrest,
Yeah.
you've got to fill in
Yeah.
the gap.
Fill in the gap.
Yeah. So we have pillows designed for that purpose.
And do you offer to come look at someone's car and say like, okay, I'll
Happy
find-
to do that.
That would
Happy
be
to
great.
do that. Yeah. Just park close. And actually, that's such a common question. I think I'm gonna do a blog on that. Yeah, and I'll do a video blog so that we can demonstrate it too.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an important question because you can see this here. Can't you just see the airplane headrest
Yeah.
fitting right into there, right? Yeah. So we do have to take note of all the ways that our culture has been engineered to keep reinforcing these terrible patterns. It's a problem because the brainstem lives right here. The brainstem is where all the control centers are for all of your organ systems. Your breathing, your lungs, your digestion, your immune system, your reproductive system, everything is here, right at the top of the neck. And so we have research that shows that the further out in front your head is from your shoulder, it takes years off your life. Yeah, that's how big of a deal it is. And can you understand here? You can see the muscles here. So we have a nice curve in the neck, and the muscles here are doing their work the way they should, but they can be at ease. Here, look at how those muscles now are going to be tugging. Look at how they're going to be tugging all the way down into the upper back. Right? So if you have hey, Savannah, would you bring me a rubber band? I had one in the other room, but I didn't bring it out, so I want to show you this. So that the muscles, right? If you think of a bow and arrow, right? A bow and arrow is going to work most effectively if there's a bow to the bow, right? Thank you. All right. So here we've got our bow and arrow. Let's see if we can pull this off, right? Right. Here's a curve. We've got this is the way the muscles should be working, and they're going to work great that way. But if you lose that curve, right? How well is that bow and arrow going to work? Not well at all. Do you see?
Mhm.
Or if it's supposed to be upright like this, and now it's coming forward, those muscles, that trajectory, gravitationally, those muscles were not designed to work that way. They were designed to work that way. So the weight-bearing aspect of it is key to be paying attention to. And so when we lose that alignment, posturally, that then can cause the twists and torques and the subluxations. And now we've got a spiral that's happening, a downward spiral where we have the lifestyle bad habits that are reinforcing the subluxations. And when we go through this process, this is what then can lead to all kinds of symptoms showing up because your body is trying to tell you, you're moving away from health now. Please do something different. Take your head off, stop putting your head forward, right? That's the simple instruction that your brain is trying to give you when it's sending the pain signal with headaches. That could be as simple as that. We got to change the posture here. And but of course we have to correct the subluxations as well. That's part of that. So the pain and the headaches. So let's look at, again, remember the pain, it's only 10% of the nervous system's jobs here. And so we want to now look at if we are getting that signal of pain, we want to pay attention, but what do we need to pay attention to? Again, we've got this fuse box here, right? So you've got the brain and the central nervous system sending messages over the peripheral nervous system to the organ systems. So you get the three systems, central nervous system, peripheral, and organ systems. And that communication network is the key. And just like with a fuse box where we know those wires are going to a certain room, we know in the body there's a map of the nervous system as well. And those nerves are going to certain organ systems, right? And so the nerves that come out of the top of the spine are going up into the head. And the nerves that are coming out through here go into the organ functions for digestion, immune system, that sort of thing. This is going down into the lower leg and so on, right? So it's a fuse box. So just like, if you went home today and you went into a room in your house and there was no lights on and no appliances working, would you go and try to check every light bulb? Probably not, right? You go right to where the power source is, right to the fuse box. So that's what chiropractors are doing, is we're going to go right to the fuse box, right to the spine. That's where the interference can occur. And so when we have the joint misalignment and the tissue damage and the spasms and the joint fixation, over time that can start to cause deterioration and a breaking down in those joints, and that's called degenerative changes. Degenerative changes. And those degenerative changes otherwise are known as arthritis. Okay? It really bothers me when people are told, oh, your problem, it's arthritis. Right? People will tell me, oh yeah, I have neck problems, but I have arthritis. I ask them, like, how many people here have been told that they have arthritis? Hands up. A couple people. Did you just kick them in the shins when they told you that? Because that's what I wish would happen. Because when you're told your arthritis, what is the tone of that? It's as though, well, there's nothing you can do about that now. And even the idea that that's just normal aging. It is not normal aging. It is not normal aging. And if you actually looked at a spine that are arthritis, you would see, oh, maybe it's C4 and C5 that has the arthritis. Or maybe it's this hand that has the arthritis worse than this hand. Is it really just normal aging? Are these hands two different ages?
No.
Right? Right? Is C1 and C2 a different age than C4 and C5? It's not normal aging. It is specifically due to trauma and bad habits. It's wear and tear, but not normal wear and tear. No. It's wear and tear from misalignment. Just like if the tires on your car are out of alignment, what's going to happen to them? Wear and tear is accelerated and it's uneven. And that's what we see happening with arthritic changes, degenerative changes in the spine that are related to subluxation. So we get the arthritis happening, and then from that, the nerve supply from the neck is in charge of the shoulder, the arm, and the elbow. So we'll have folks that struggle with headaches, and after a while, yeah, I also get tingling in my arm, and yeah, I'm kind of losing some grip strength there. It's that map of the nervous system. It's that fuse box. The same short circuits are happening. And that can lead to people having wrist and carpal tunnel problems, hand problems, but also headaches. Because the nerve supply that controls the upper extremity also goes right up into the head as well. So let's now take a look at when there's that subluxation, it causes nerve irritation and interference in your body's innate ability to heal and remain healthy. So here we have a drawing of this X-ray view. And so we see here we have healthier joints here, discs are healthier here, but we have the wear and tear showing. And we want to have a forward curve, but you can even have a disc that's pinching down, and that's herniating and putting pressure on the nerves or even on the spinal cord itself. Mm-hmm. So when you have subluxations and it's affecting the health of the disc, it can lead to disc herniations and arthritis and deterioration. And here we can see what happened to the disc here. It's narrower. Look at how wide that disc is there. That's the spacer for the nerve that's coming out here. What's happening to this spacer, right?
It can't do its
job.
Whatever that word is.
No imbibition. That's been happening here for a while. That's right. And that means that the hole where this nerve was supposed to come out of is not going to have the right space that it needs to breathe to carry the messages in those nerves. So let's look at all the individual categories of headaches. Stress headaches. Now, stress headaches are typically the ones that are going to come on as the day wears on. And some people will call them tension headaches, and it kind of starts in the back of the neck and it comes up the back of the head. Sometimes it'll move right around to the front of the head, but it's that one that you can kind of feel moving up from your neck, from the back of your head. That's classic stress headache. And the stress headaches, I call them physically based because they tend to be the ones that are posturally related the most. Yeah. And it's that tension, the rubber band tension. It's that tension that's pulling. You can just feel the tension, the stress there. And look at why we call them stress headaches as well. If a tiger is about to pounce on you, what would be the immediate reaction you would have as far as your posture? Right? You go right into this. So this is called stress physiology, stress posturing, survival posturing. And so when we are being overloaded by our life, whether it's a sudden bad news stress happening, or it's those ongoing deadlines that never go away, the demand that never goes away, our bodies will go into the same adaptive response that our ancestors had, that was designed into us so we could survive the next minute, right? When the tiger's pouncing, you just need to survive the next minute. So posturally, we do this. We were never meant to be in this posture for hours or days or weeks or months or years. We were never meant to. And so the tension and stress headaches that you feel, it's the muscles that are tight, that are meant to be tight for maybe 15 seconds, 5 minutes maybe. The tiger's there and then they're gone. Then you come out of that posture. The tiger's not here anymore. And yet we are going all day long with this stress physiology, right? So with stress headaches, 90% of headaches are called cervicogenic headaches, meaning coming from the cervical spine. 90% of headaches come from the cervical spine. So C1 through C7, that's this area here, okay? So whoever you're sitting next to, even though they're a stranger, I want you to reach out next to them and I want you to feel the bump right at the top of the back at the bottom of the neck. That's C7, the vertebral prominence.
Standing?
Yeah, that's the vertebral prominence, okay?
Go ahead.
And then you can switch the other side. So
I
feel
don't
it.
know where
So
it
when
is.
you're
Here,
touching
right
it,
there?
it's gonna
Right
help
there?
that person
Goes
to
down.
feel where it is when you're touching
There?
it. That's the vertebral prominence,
feel like
right?
One more, I think.
That's
one more.
C7, right there, okay? And then if you go right up the neck, right there,
If you keep going up,
the next bump is C2 that sticks out,
Go ahead.
right? So C1 is just above that. You can't feel C1 there; it's tucked in.
I feel
But
these right
C1 to
Mhm.
C7, those are where the subluxations are most commonly that have to do with headaches.
here.
That's it.
Yes.
But now I want you to know that cervicogenic is a misnomer because a lot of headaches, watch my posture. If I'm like this, where are all those muscles tugging on? Upper back. So we know we very commonly also are finding subluxation patterns related to T1 through T5 as well. So it's not actually just cervicogenic. It's going to be thoracogenic as well. Yeah, it's this whole C1 to C7, T1 to T5. That's the area that's involved. And it's physically based. It's posture. It's bad habits. Yeah. It can start from a trauma, whiplash, something like that, but it's promoted where we're calling it a stress headache. It's physical stress. It's postural. Okay, what about sinus headaches? Anybody here struggle from sinus headaches? Yep. Okay, so sinus headaches tend to be a different place. They tend to be more specifically around C2 and then also C6 and C7, those two areas. And sinus headaches are interesting. We call them chemical because they tend to be related to chemical changes in our body that will trigger the sinus headaches. So one thing we know is people will have, they might have an allergy or something that gets a sinus starting to be compromised. Are we okay with our recording?
Yeah, we just need to plug it in.
So it doesn't lose battery, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll have to change it.
Let's just take a moment and get that set right.
Okay,
Do you get it?
just a second here.
So so when we're looking at sinus headaches, one of the things that we know is it's about chemistry. So our bodies need water in order to have every reaction happen. It's a lubricant, it's a carrier, right? We need water in our body. If we don't have water, we have mucus that also is a carrier in our body. And so if we have the right amount of water to do all those reactions, we're in good shape. But if we're dehydrated and we're not drinking water, our body still has to move things around. So it will create mucus as the plan B of moving things around and lubricating. So we know with sinus infections and sinus headaches, it's the pressure. It's all, the sinuses are all filled up. There's so much pressure right through here. And oftentimes it's linked to people being dehydrated. And so I've had some miraculous changes for people when they said, oh, my sinuses are troubling me so much. And I'm like, are you hydrated today? Like, I'm not, no, maybe not. And then as soon as they add that in, so much of the pressure goes away. So that's a really important point. Now this C2 and the C7, that's the nerve supply that goes right to this area right through here. So that's a key one that I find. And I have patients, they'll say, oh, I just love it when you just touch that one area and I just feel everything clear out. Yeah, so classic. Migraine headaches. Migraine headaches, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them because I hate what they do to people's lives. Just debilitating how they affect people's lives. Incredible. But I love hearing that someone has migraines because we get such amazing results with them. And people's lives change so dramatically. So migraine headaches, they tend to be more hormonally related. They tend to be more related to hormone fluctuations, right? And any of you ladies that have changes in your hormones during the month, you know how much it affects our lives, right? But it affects it can affect male and female hormonally. So the areas of the nervous system that have the biggest impact on hormones, C6 to T3 is the common area here that it can affect our hormones. And then L1 to L2, way down here, can affect that whole cascade of hormone function. So that's not an uncommon place right there. And then the other place is right at the tip of the tailbone. Oftentimes that tug, that tension pulling from the bottom, I'll see how it can affect migraines all the way up to the top. Especially with kids with migraines, when I make those contacts at the very bottom of their spine, I see the most dramatic changes with them with that. I remember when I was in chiropractic school, I literally remember learning a technique that works with the very bottom of the spine and having my housemate, and she had a headache, and I had just learned in school this, and I said, lay down, let's try it out. And sure enough, just making the light contact, and she's like, I can feel it melting away. It's significant. That was 40 years ago, right, that happened. Okay, so another dangerous belief about headaches. So I've just shown you what the causes are for these things. I've shown them to you. And yet you're going to go out there, you're going to talk to people you know that are struggling with headaches, and they're being told that there's nothing that can be done. You're just going to have to tolerate it. You're just going to get into that dark room once a month and have nothing bother you. You're just going to have to miss work, or here, try these medications, and now they're not working so well anymore. Here's more medications. We're going to try harder ones, stronger ones, and then you're getting the side effects, and you're into another whole category of problem, aren't you? So there is something that can be done. So what is it that we do? How do we correct subluxations? It's a three-legged stool model that we use, a three-legged stool of correction. So remember we talked about the bad habits that people get into? If we're really going to move the dial on getting to the cause of the headaches and the correction, we have to look at breaking bad habits for folks. Because it's the bad habits that are moving them in the direction that they're going, and it's the bad habits that are related to their posture and their hydration and the foods they're eating and all of that. So bad habits, we need to break them, identify them, and then break them. adding specific exercises in that are it's going to help with posture and help get your spine stronger and healthier. And then chiropractic adjustments to get those adjustments to correct the subluxations, and then to teach you the ways through 1 and 2 to stop recreating those subluxations. So when we talk about breaking the bad habits, diet can be one of them as well. When we looked at sinus headaches and even stress headaches, migraine headaches, sometimes I will see that there is a diet correlation as well to that. So people, they can tolerate certain foods, and then when they're stressed, they can't, and it triggers a headache, right? So it's that combination of the chemical stress and the mental emotional stress. I also find that people that have had heavy metal,
used to always do it for me.
cheese used to do it for you?
MSG.
Oh, MSG, that's a classic
Oh,
one.
man.
Absolutely, yeah. So the toxins that come in through our foods, not to mention certain types of foods. So for sinuses, the dairy, which creates mucus, the mucus producing foods, right? And then also, if people have had heavy metal toxicity, and the heavy metal toxicity can come through diet, through work environments, and just overall through our culture, through medications, heavy metal toxicities can come in through those too. So when we talk about breaking the bad habits, the most common nutritional deficiency who can guess what the most common nutritional deficiency is with headaches? So if we're not getting into our diet the nutrients that we need, the most common one. Any ideas?
I think vegetables. Myself,
Right, but
because
I'm talking
greens-
about a particular,
particular vegetable.
D,
a particular actual mineral.
vitamin D.
It's a good guess. With headaches, it's not as vitamin D. I want that to be in place, but the one that's most common, magnesium.
Interesting.
Magnesium is the most common one, but there's another one that, and magnesium is linked to many problems. Magnesium deficiency is linked to many problems, from cardiovascular diseases to hypertension, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, asthma, PMS, migraine headaches, depression, anxiety. All of those things are oftentimes linked to magnesium deficiencies.
So, does your store that you provide online help identify like the things that are in the foods that you can have delivered? I'm just curious.
It's a good question, and I'll answer offline to you
Okay,
because it's not an
offline.
easy answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
But the other nutrient is phosphorus. Phosphorus, I find, is amazing. Recognize this. We want to correct the underlying cause so the headaches don't keep coming back.
Mhm.
But if you need a bridge for a little while, wouldn't I rather have you using a nutritional supplement rather than a medication? Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. This is magic because the phosphorus helps to balance out the calcium and the magnesium. So if we have an imbalance in calcium, the phosphorus can help to balance that out. Yeah. So I find these two are the most effective ways. And so when I'm doing nutritional testing with people that have headaches to see what is the bridge that they need, these are the two most common things that I find. So Phosfood liquid is the standard processed version of the phosphorus. It's amazing. It's liquid, pour in the water, drink it down, and all of a sudden people feel it just melting away. It's very useful. And of course, we do testing to see what people need, right? And then also, if people have, let me just see what my next slide is. Not there. I'm going to talk a little bit more here. If people have heavy metal toxicities, then we better look at detoxing their system and looking at what the source of those toxicities are. Could it be fillings in there, or it could be their cookware, it could be the aluminum cans that they're consuming foods from. There's lots of it could be vaccinations that have aluminum in them or mercury in them. It could be foods that have that. So we can look at where are the contaminants coming in. So let's stop them from coming in, but then it's a very particular protocol that we use to detox. And that has a big impact when folks have headaches that are persistent and not going away. And then, of course, there's the other bad habits that we need to address, because we know that tech neck can lead to not just chronic neck pain, nerve problems, headaches, but even herniated or bulging discs. So we've got to address the bad habits, and those are going to come posturally. So let me teach you an exercise right now that's a great one to actually start to reconcile if you're getting into the hunched posture and all that muscle tension in the back of the neck. So this is an exercise that we call the life extension exercises, and the acronym we use is YWLT. I like to use the phrase, you will love this. You will love this, okay? And so the way you do it, I'm going to show you right now. Does everybody want to stand up and do it with me?
Sure.
Perfect. If you stand there, then everybody that's watching on the video can see it too. All right, so the first one is the Y. So the Y, it's actually as straight as your arms can go. Yep. And it's in a Y, so it's not up here, but out slightly. And you want to, if you can, have the elbows straight. And it's not out in front of you. It's right up in line with your ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to think of it as I have a plane here, two glass walls right here, and my arms are in that plane.
Mm-hmm.
So the Y, and you want to stretch your fingers up towards the moon, the stars, as far away as you can. So you're stretching. You're going to maybe take a couple of breaths as you're standing here doing this exercise on your own. So it's going to be about 20 seconds that you're going to be holding this, and you're going to be working, stretching and working. And for some of you, it's just going to start with, I'm just going to spend just a couple seconds there, and that's good enough. But you want to work towards 20 seconds there, working in a strong way. The second one is your elbows going into your back pockets. And you want to try and push your elbows into your back pockets, right? And once you get them in there, you want to push them in 1 more millimeter. So really push them in. And so you're going to spend about 20 seconds also here. And you're going to take a deep breath in and out, maybe a couple of breaths, that amount of time of pressing them in, okay? So just looking around the room, you could try to press your elbows in this way, but you actually want them to be open. So you want to be working in that same plane, if you can, of having your hands pretty close to your body and then the elbows down in, okay? The next one is the L. You will love this. Here's the key with this one. If you're looking forward at the horizon, you want to wiggle your fingers and not be able to see them. So you're going to open up that chest quite a bit. And taking the breaths in and out, couple of breaths, about 20 seconds here. And then the last one is the T. This, you will love this. And it's the same thing. You don't want to be able to see your fingers, so they're going to have to come back. And you want to stretch and point your fingers as far away from you as you can. And you're going to go again about 20 seconds there. And that's it. And so the way you want to do this is 20 seconds each position. Do 1 round for every 2 hours of sitting. Okay, so if you are in a job where you have to be sitting, right? Every 2 hours that you're sitting, you want to be doing this exercise. Give yourself that break. 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, right? So that's 80 seconds. That's a little over a minute that's going to take you, right? If you have to just go to the bathroom and do the exercise in the bathroom, right? Like, that's a good place. No one's going to bother you. But even better, teach everybody around you how to do this and all do it together. Do you see?
Definitely.
So it's called life extension exercises because remember what we said when the head is forward? Takes years off your life? Yeah, doing this exercise is going to help to put those years back on, life extension. Okay, so
On the Y, if you can't do it all the way, what's more important, to be in the body plane or to be up? Because I can't do.
that's a good
I
question.
mean, if I put them up, they're here.
Yeah, I hear you. Yep. So let me just check that out.
And if I put them, actually, if I go this way, I can do it much better.
Do it that way. The
If I'm
wider
coming up,
open.
I can't.
Yeah, so do it that way. Get up there like this, and then find a place where you can kind of hold them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's a good.
Going the other way. I
Yeah.
couldn't
So
get
for
anywhere near
modification,
here.
if you've got trouble with your shoulders, that modification is that you go up with your hands together, and then find the place where you're okay with doing it in the plane, right? It's not going to be as effective if you're out here. Nope, that's just adding more weight forward. That's the same as the head being forward. It's gonna add stress. So the key is to be in that plane.
So,
Good question. Yeah.
Where do people start if they can't do the full 20 seconds? Like, where do you recommend they start? 8 seconds, 10 seconds?
As many seconds as you can.
Just build up.
Yeah. You'll be surprised at how fast you build it up. So what this does is it finally starts to build up. It rebuilds these muscles that in a primal human we're going to be used all day long, and we're strong, right? When you think of the posture of a primal human, right? They're gazing out at the landscape, right? This is their posture. They're not going to be like this. They're prey when they're like this, right? And they own their landscape when they're like this. Okay? All right, so you will love this. So, if you do have a subluxation, how do we measure it, and how do we measure if it's being corrected? And so we use lots of different criteria. We use the instrumentation, which is measuring nerve supply to the muscles and nerve supply to the organs, the part you can't feel. We measure that. We also feel the motion in the joint, and if it's not moving, we know it's fixated, that muscle's strapping it down, that's a sign of subluxation. The static palpation is the actual, is it misaligned or not? And then visualization is the posture, right? That's the postural piece. So can I get a volunteer to help me show you the visualization piece? Would you like to help with that? All right. So we'll just have you turn facing that way, okay? And so those of you that are more square right in front of him, I'm just going to have you turn your body so your feet are, that's it, there you go. Okay, so when we look at the posture, right, can you tell me which shoulder looks higher? Exactly, yeah. And when I look at where the ears are on the head, there's also a little bit of a tip here. It's not as dramatic here, but it's also, there's a tip there. I'm curious if you can see what I see. Can you see if there's any rotation in the face? Is it rotated like that? Is that what you're seeing? Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And so here he is standing, his brain thinks that he's standing looking straight ahead, and yet we see there's some rotation there. We see the posture here with the shoulders. And of course, this is going to be a reflection of what's happening in the spine as well. Okay, can you turn to the side this way? Okay, so remember what we were talking about where the head is forward of the shoulder. Do you see that? And can you literally see how much stress could be being held right in through this area too, right? Okay, so let's do one more test here. You're going to face this way again. And then do you have any trouble with the shoulder here? Okay, so can I have you hold your arm out like this? And I'm going to push down, you resist real strong, okay? Real strong, ready, and hold. That's good and strong. Lots of strength there. Okay, can I feel your neck here for a moment? Okay, so when I feel the neck here, I can clearly feel where there's some more tension, especially on one side than the other. And I'm curious about this area right here. So can you feel how it's kind of soft here, but it's tight right in through there? Okay, so I'm going to have you hold your arm out again. I'm going to push down. You hold strong, ready, hold, still strong. I want you to put your left finger right here. So this is where the short circuit is. This is where it feels to me like there may be a subluxation. We're going to test again. If there is a short circuit here, oftentimes with this neurological test, we'll see a change here. So I'll push you, hold, ready, and hold. And we see how it goes down. You see how that happens? Now keep your finger there. Turn your head this way. Now just for a moment, temporarily, there's some pressure being taken off the nerve. Let's see if this changes. Ready, and hold. Solid again. Really strong. Okay, look straight ahead again. Whoops. Just want to see if it's still there. And yep, I'll have you touch it again, please. Yeah. And hold again real strong, ready, and hold. And we see how that weakness shows up, right? So that's a way that I can zero in, like, yep, it feels like a subluxation. It's acting like a subluxation. And then we'd want to scan that and look at the nerve supply that's coming out to the muscles and to the organs, and how that could be affecting the blood supply up to the head, and how it could be related to headaches or other health concerns. Thank you so much for helping. All right, so that's how we measure. And x-rays, of course, are going to give us a picture inside as well. That's another tool that can be used. So how do we correct the subluxations? Again, it's going to be breaking the bad habits, adding the specific exercises in, and then the chiropractic adjustments that are going to correct the short circuits or the subluxations. Everybody say subluxations.
Subluxation.
Good. All right, so the only way you're going to know if you have subluxations, because remember that what's the most common symptom of a subluxation?
Nothing.
No symptom at all, right? The only way you know if you have that is to get checked. So anybody here that, if you haven't been checked before and you want to be checked, the process is you come in and we do a complete exam. So we know everything about your nervous system. You guys all know what I'm talking about, right? We do our scans. I get my hands on your spine. I also find it's very important to do a thorough case history to understand what brought you to this point. So we're very thorough with that as well. And then I study all of that. And on the second visit is when I am able to say, can I help or not? Do we see classic patterns here that relate to subluxations? If we do, good chance that I can help, and then I give recommendations on what I think it's going to take to correct the subluxations. So that's how that works. The usual cost is $210 for people here at the workshop. We're capping it at $47 for you. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to. And those of you that are watching the video, just contact my team and let them know that you watched the video, and we're happy to honor that too. All right, and so the thing that I find that gets in the way the most with people's health is, one, they don't have the awareness or the premises that are going to move them in the direction towards the health, optimal health that they want. We are living in a culture that actually trains people to not take responsibility for their actions. So they're the people that don't come to the workshops, right? But the people that come to the workshops are the ones that want to be responsible, and they want to take action. They want to take the right action, so they need to understand the premises. So again, I want to appreciate you for being here. The third reason that I find that people are not getting the results they want with their health is procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of health. Like, maybe it will go away. We all agreed, didn't we? Ignoring it is not the way to get the results that you want. So, whoops. So your problems will just go away if you ignore them. That's a dangerous belief, because I've seen where it goes, right? I've felt the spines of people, and I know if I had only gotten to them sooner, you see? So I thank you so much for your time and attention this evening. Do your exercises. If you want to get scheduled to get checked, then Savannah can do that for you. And if you have any other questions, I'm here. I'm going to cut off the tape so we're done with that, and you guys are free to go. But any other questions, just come up and see me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.